too. So I've been talking about the copper wire, right? The Commerce Commission is studying consumer protections as we switch to fibre. The copper wire is going. Consumers are making the switch from copper to fibre as it's rolled out. I haven't done it yet. I didn't need the very fast speed, and I've heard some nightmare stories about getting the wire into houses, trenches being dug and holes being put in the side of my house. And when my internet service is perfectly fine and I don't need it to be any faster, that would just see my kids on there even more, I haven't gone for the fibre as yet. But apparently more and more are doing this, and they're turning to the fibre, and they're switching from the copper. Now, the problem is this makes the copper network more costly for Chorus to maintain. So we've had some recent legislative changes that allows Chorus to shift remaining copper consumers onto the fibre from 2020, and we need to have some rules about the whole thing. So the Commerce Commission wants to have some submissions about some rules about getting rid of copper wire. Now, what goes on the copper wire? Internet, yes, but also your landline and your phone. And I bring you all the way back to your 111 service. And these are the concerns that the Commerce Commission have. They want regulations in place so that if Chorus says it's getting too expensive to maintain the copper network and there's enough of you on fibre, we want you all to go on fibre, they're not going to hit you up for a big old cost, whether you like it or not, force you onto the fibre. They're talking about a Commission 111 contact code, which will require that vulnerable consumers have an appropriate means of contacting 111 for emergency services at no cost during a power outage. So here's my question for you. Are you happy with the copper network to be phased out and for everything to be put on fibre? And so all that investment and all that line and all that infrastructure, which works perfectly well right now, being got rid of. Helen, who phoned us from the Chatham Islands, she won't have the fibre. They'll have the copper, but that's doable. And do you object to the way that technology becomes forced upon us? For instance, I haven't chosen fibre so far. I've kept with the copper. But now it's looking that from 2020, I'm not going to have any choice in it, whether I like it or not. Got to go on the fibre. Got to have the trench dug under my house. Got to have the hole put in the wall. Probably have to pay the service for it unless the Commerce Commission comes up with a rule. And I don't have the choice in the matter. And is the copper network it's been so reliable and it's all there. Does it make sense just to scrap it? Or am I just being a Luddite? And some people say, oh no, what are you going to do now that the world is spinning too fast for you, Dickens? Well, what do you have to say to all of this? 0800 80 10 80 is the number to phone. Hello, Charlene. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. I'm just calling just to talk about just the chat about Chorus and the fibre.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically what I want to say is it's been a big concern for me about having this as a compulsory thing, yes, for the emergency calling, and also about the ongoing issues we've tried to, that we've had for the past 4 months trying to connect to fibre.
Oh, yeah? Tell us the story. How hard has it been?
It's been really difficult. We've had about 4 technicians come out from Chorus to look at our property. We've dug up the trench ourselves. We've just requested for fibre to be installed. We've done most of the work for them. And really, after almost 4 months, we still haven't had it connected or installed.
Where are you?
I'm based in Upper Hutt.
Okay. Are you out in the countryside, though? Are you up in the hills?
A little bit, yeah, but it's a new subdivision and fibre's already connected up there. It's just getting it connected to the house, which has been an issue from the road to the house.
Yep.
It's actually been quite upsetting, really. We've lost lost Dad, and we really would have needed fibre, to really make things easier. And no, it's just been a continual saga where we're still calling them weekly to try and get them to connect our service. So this is a real big issue for especially, the elderly, people that are dependent on having some sort of communication. And if it takes if they're going to have issues like this, it's a real big worry if it's going to be a compulsory service where they can't provide it.
I understand how new technology comes in and that eventually old stuff gets decommissioned. I totally understand that, but I also understand that we have some boffins in back rooms who imagine what the new reality is, and it's well ahead of what the real reality is and the actual reality is. So if you are in a new subdivision in a urban area such as Upper Hutt, and you have been trying to get fibre in for 4 months, I think we can pretty well tie-ho on decommissioning copper anytime soon, don't you?
Absolutely. Just keep it simple, just to make Chorus's life easier. The community out there still require things to be simple for them to be able to access what everyone should access, emergency services and those sorts of things. So,
I wonder what the uptake level is, at what point you should be saying, and now we make the big jump, and what point then Chorus, state-owned, actually starts helping people out properly. I worry that we're going a bit soon,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Charlene, thank you for your story, and I'm so sorry. All the best.
Thank you.
Ta-da now.
Bye.
So here's a few things. Look, and like I say, I get that fibre one day will become like the copper is now. But, we've got some tech heads out there. Copper isn't reliable, not even remotely. A lot of copper is wet line, so there are endless faults as soon as anything more than drizzle occurs. Fibre is the way forward. It only sticks in the mud. Think otherwise. And those sticks also have no idea how fibre works and what the benefits are. Copper was never designed to be used how we're using it now. Of course, it was originally designed to be a phone conduit, and now it's got the whole internet thingy on it as well. It is antiquated and dilapidated and overdue to be decommissioned. Don't argue, but maybe this is all too soon. When you hear, Charlene's story. Everything's moving here, so I need to. Here we go. Hello, our business is still on copper for phones, as there is incompatibility between our computer operating system and fax phone functions, but when it rains, calls can't come through, and you get 30-plus answer machine messages saying hours after they were left. Chorus and Spark say it's the rain that's the issue, and they refuse to repair the copper. And what's happening there is they're forcing the hand. They're not doing the maintenance. They're making the copper so untenable that you have to change the fibre whether you want to or not. They simply keep trying to sell us fibre VoIP or voice over internet protocol service. We know doesn't work, as another store in our group moved to it and lost all faxability for the last 6 to 12 months. Are we going too soon for this sort of thing? To fibre? And they're saying possibly from 2020. So is this too soon? Is this too quick? Are we having technology forced on us that is not ready to go? And I've had a couple of texts here that I think should be said. First of all, Mike says the copper should stay. The only two things that worked reliably during the 2011 earthquake was the copper landlines and the good old-fashioned cash as the FPOS was down. That's true. And I've had a number of people contacting me both on email and on text saying we have a problem with the fibre in that our landlord is refusing to have his property dug up to get it installed and refusing to pay for it. So it's not like it is ubiquitous as yet. Now, hello, Sue. How are you?
Oh, all the better for your asking. But, I think this is quite an issue myself. There is no copper network in new developments, only fibre. But what about the guaranteed Kiwi share in the copper network? And I think it would be a mistake to decommission it. The copper network has always been reliable, and there is quite a big percentage relying on the copper, particularly the elderly. And I think here's an opportunity for the government to do something useful and take it over and because really there's nothing wrong with it. It's just laziness from Chorus, isn't it? They don't want to fix it.
No.
And to me, but right across the board, there's been an attack on the services, and I look at the biggest voting block, which 750,000 elderly and more joining them every day. They've lost their bus services, so they've been left isolated. They're trying to take their post offices, their phone networks and everything else, you know. And these are the very people that built these reliable services up to benefit the community in the first place.
I think, I mean, it's obvious things are going to change. Things have always changed. They've changed all the way through human history. The only question I have is the rate of change. And thank you, Sue. Haven't talked to you for ages. Hello, Chris. You've got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and I just, about the fibre, I've got it in my garden about 10 feet from my house, and I live in a Auckland Council unit. There's 27 units on our property, and when I applied to get the fibre connected, our landlord, which is Auckland Council, wouldn't connect to all the 27 units because Chorus have a policy: if you connect to a property, any of the dwellings on the property all have to be connected at the same time.
Right.
So I'm still running on copper, have done for a long time, for my broadband. But of the 27 units where I live, there's only 3 of us that have broadband. Everyone else has a copper telephone. Now, there are about 17 villages on the North Shore comprising of about 650 retired people that live in Auckland Council units. They all rely on the copper for their landlines. You talk to them about Wi-Fi or broadband, they think it's something from outer space, you know. But, luckily, my children got me onto it. But I think the changeover in 2020 from copper to
fibre
is just way too soon. It's you know, the landlords have to pick up the bill, or currently they're picking up the bill. But in my case, of course, they wouldn't pick up the bill, so I just stayed on copper. But it's going to become quite a big issue for a lot of elderly people that don't really understand the fibre system, and they're going to lose their landline phone. You know, what's going to happen to that?
Yeah. Look, my mum was the same. She had the computer. She knew how to use the computer. Well, she thought she did until she actually did some internet shopping, and then she ended up buying $800 worth of groceries, including 10 lots of toilet paper. You know, there's no blame, no fault, just is. NewstalkZB.